Thanks, Karen. Yeah, my name's Wally Bell. I'm a Ngunnawal man, and I am also an elder of my clan group. Now we've got, for the Ngunnawal people, we've got 7 different clans within that, the Ngunnawal nation. Like I said, my clan group is the Yar people. We come from Yass area. So our cultural heritage throughout this whole region is really rich because of the fact that we've been occupying this region, and it's been scientifically proven for at least 25,000 years. So over that time we've learned how to survive and manage the natural landscape. We've never tried to change the landscape, if you know what I mean. So we relied heavily on our survival by what Mother Nature could provide for us. So part of that management was, learning all the different types of vegetation that's out there. Native vegetation, mind you. There's a lot of rubbish out there now that you couldn't survive on, and most of the native vegetation has been removed. Mainly for, farming practices that happened since European occupation. So when you look at the landscape these days, it's really changed a lot to what it used to be. And where I actually work with all 3 catchment groups in Landcare, ACT, and what I'm trying to achieve through that is a re-establishment of native vegetation. Which has a better outcome in the natural environment. Like a lot of the non-native plants that are out there now, they do a good job, but they're also a bit invasive as well. So we've got to try and cull those ones out of the natural landscape. So we used to do that sort of thing by what's been labelled as Firestick management, and that's where we've learnt to do what we call a cultural burn. Now our burns are quite different to the way the fire management unit for the ACT look after the landscape these days. They do control burns, but the problem with that is they're leaving those burns for too long. Now, when we did our burns, we used to, like I said, we've got 7 different clan groups, and we used to lead a very nomadic lifestyle. And that's because we used to move around through the landscape according to the ripening periods for different vegetation, our food sources, our bush tucker. So as we're doing that, we're also managing the landscape through Firestick management, which means that we do our cool burns. There's a couple of reasons that we do it. Get rid of the rubbish, of course, and promote new growth. And the other one is to promote food sources to come to us instead of us going to go and chase them. Because once we've done a burn, a cool burn, the new generation of plants that come through, you wouldn't believe it, but kangaroos can smell new growth kilometres away, and they are attracted to it because they know it's fresh, young and delicious sort of stuff. So the food sources actually come to us. So with that in mind, our cool burns then, we don't damage the landscape. Now why we call it a cool burn is because we do them more often, so there's not as much fuel load. Like these days the fuel load is so thick and dense that it promotes a really hot burn, which then damages the layer that's underneath, and a lot of that layer contains new seed growth that's down there, and that's just doesn't generate at all then. So we're missing out on that new growth that is possible But with our cool burns, what we do is we take the top off, okay? And they're called a cool burn, but they're really quick ones as well. That's why we base our burns on small areas. That's, as I said, as a nomadic people, we moved around and those little areas got burnt. Not just by one clan group, but by all 7 of us. So we're clearing areas all around through our country. Now on this map here, this is our country. The black line's basically where our tribal boundary is. So we've managed to move around through there. It's something like 17,000 square kilometres. So there's plenty of room for us to move around in there, and there's lots of water sources as well. And all waterways are our pathways. That's how we move through the landscape. And this boundary is based on all those waterways. You've got the main big one in the middle of it, place you guys called Lake George, but we refer to as Noongarra. And that's also where our creator being comes from as well, Bujabuya. So we have what we call a really strong connection with country, and that's not only is it just a physical connection, but it's also a spiritual one. And that's why I can tell you stories about how the landscape was formed and all those sort of things as well. So, but what I'm talking about here primarily, I guess, is the Firestick management. And if you can imagine that moving through the landscape all the time, you know, we're making new pathways for ourselves as well. So we're burning off some of that thicker scrub and stuff like that, so we can actually move through the landscape. Fire management, it was a practice that we carried out to maintain a good balance in life for ourselves and the natural environment. Because, like I said, everything we ever needed in those days was provided by what Mother Nature provided for us. You know, everything. You know, like I mentioned, bush tucker, bush medicines, all the food sources that are out there, the natural vegetation that provided both you know, food and shelter type stuff for us. We make a lot of tools and things like that. Scarred trees, for instance, they're evidence of our past practices. We use different size carvings on trees. There's also different indications of trees as well. There's what we call marker trees, which give us again a directional way to move through the landscape. And you know, everything for us in the old day was very important, from the point that if we needed to survive, we needed to learn how to live within a natural environment, look after it, and that's why I refer to myself not as a traditional owner, but a traditional custodian, a carer for country, because that's what we had to do, and that's what we still need to do in this day and age. And there's a lot of people that really trash the place. Some of these farmers, for instance, you know, what they've done is just taken everything out, and now they're sort of paying the consequence for doing that. You know, you're getting massive soil erosion and things like that as well, and you're getting a big invasion of weeds and stuff like that are coming through as well. And we've actually looked at fire stick management and the benefits of that. We've had a trial burns through the Jindira Creek line, where we've found that invasive species such as the African lovegrass, very invasive sort of species. If in a patch that we've burnt with lovegrass and the natural native grasses, the native grasses will regenerate stronger than the weed. So we're looking at trying to incorporate more of those sort of burns within the urban areas, not just in the nature parks and things like that as well, because we know that the best management for weed control, you got is to burn it. No matter how many times you go out and poison something, it always seems to regenerate. So the difference there is that the heat from the fire actually destroys a lot of what's under the surface that is not good. So, sorry? Yeah. Now I lost my train of thought. We're actually talking with the ACT government about incorporating our cultural burns into their fire management plans, because they can see the benefits that comes from it. Even some of their burns that they've done in the nature reserves and the natural native vegetation that's regenerated is unbelievable, because they've actually accidentally done a cool burn, yeah, that's true. I mean, they really didn't mean to do it, I don't think, but they can actually see how the native vegetation benefits from a cool burn more so than their, burns that they normally do. And like I said, the frequency of those burns is not happening a lot, so they need to learn how to do it more often and get to a point where they can manage it better. That'll do me. All right, thanks.